All right, Jeff Zimmerman here with the strength and conditioning coach, Larry Wade,
Yes.
Jake Paul, man. How you doing, coach?
Man, doing good, man. Just busy. My phone just got disconnected or something. I don't know what happened. Oh,
There you
it's
go.
doing busy, always moving around. But yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah, man. It's only been, I wanted to catch you, it's only been a few days after the big
Right,
fight in
right,
Anaheim, where Jake dominated the son of a legend, Julio Cesar
right.
Chavez. Are you still on a high from that fight?
No, I'm not. That moment is over. I'm one of those guys that takes it at the moment, but lets it go. I'm already focused on the next thing. And the thing is, if you're trying to be the best at anything, you take the positive and you appreciate those, but you focus on the negatives, and that's what you think about moving forward into the next fight. So I'm already past the fight, already looking at the next thing. The I guess the highlight of today, if there was to be one, would be the fact that now he's ranked in top 15 in the world. So now that gives him an opportunity to fight for a world title.
Yeah, talk about that. I saw the ranking, the WBA just, I think it was the WBA just came out with it today. And you've been in camp with them for a lot of fights now. What has the
6-1.
improve what does that improvement look like over the last few fights?
Well, the thing is, people don't understand if, like I've always said, Jake is learning on the job. But not only that, you're in a space where Jake has had to do something that most boxers can't do and haven't done, and that is have to alter the weight as much as he's had to alter the weight over the last 2 years. He's gone from the initial fight at 185 to fight 200, fight 200 again, and then the next fight went up to 238 just to come back down to 200 to fight Mike Perry, to go back up to 230, and just to come back down and fight 200 again. That weight change is basically three different divisions. And that is very, very, very difficult to do. So it's been basically trying to govern, change, protect, and also build him in a physical stance so he can handle and manage and compete in all those different weight classes.
How hard is that as a strength and conditioning coach to manage all those different weights?
It's very hard, but at the same time, that's part of the responsibility. It's your job to figure it out. I'm not gonna make any excuses or anything. I'm always gonna try my best to give him the best opportunity to be successful, and that's what I'm committed to. So, if he's giving me a right amount of time, which he's been doing, then I do my very best to make sure he's prepared for those moments.
And you know the term, coach. You've been in this game for a long time now, worked with a lot of world champions,
Hmm.
Caleb Plant for one. Um, is he coming into camp? Is it a fat camp where he has to lose a lot of weight before he can really start getting conditioned? Or what is it like when he comes in?
It just depends. When he came back into the last fight to get ready for Mike Tyson, he knew he was going to have to put on weight, so he started putting on weight beforehand. But it's not anything that he never really goes too far out of the way as far as 40, 50 pounds over or anything like that. So that's never the case. But, we try to get a good pre-camp going so we don't have to worry about camp.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I don't need to tell you this either, that Jake is the master marketer, former YouTuber, Disney star. That was my first question when I first met
Yeah.
him was, how does a Disney star YouTube kid get onto the biggest stages in the world? And he's doing it every time. Obviously, I was there at Cowboy Stadium with Mike Tyson. But now there's this talk of him fighting AJ and then even Tank Davis. The Canelo fight had fallen through. I mean, can you envision him in the ring with either Tank Davis or AJ?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think the difficulty that people have is they think in a normal capacity. They think in the ordinary. They think in a space where what's been traditional. I personally don't think in that way. Jake doesn't think in that way, and the coaches don't think in that way. We feel like there's nothing we can't do. So why not put him in there with an AJ? Why not put him in there with a Javante Davis, and let's just see what the sport shows us. Not only is it about, and this is the biggest mistake that most boxing people have, other sports as well, including track and field. We focus so much on the sport that we forget that entertainment is part of it.
Hmm.
We are there to put on an amazing show, but we're also there to entertain the people who are watching us. You telling me people don't want to see Javante Davis? Sure. You think people don't want to see Jake Paul? Sure. Now put them in the ring together and see what happens. But of course they want to see that, right? So that's the part that people are missing, and that's the part that Jake is showing everybody, that you can still be a world champion, you can still pursue being great, and at the same time put on a show for the fans.
Would those be exhibitions then in your mind, or
I mean, I don't make those decisions,
yeah,
but I mean, I would assume so. But you never know. You know, people want to challenge themselves, and Jake has shown that he wants to challenge himself, and so I'm pretty confident that whatever decision they decide they were going to go in, that they'll be able to put on a show, and all at the same time give the fans what they want.
yeah, that would be a hell of a catch weight with Tank Davis.
Yeah, but I can promise you, whatever it would be if it was to happen, that it wouldn't be an easy situation physically for Jake either. I'm pretty sure both guys would have to adjust and adapt and come to a mutual understanding of what's going to happen.
Yeah, and coach, obviously you've been working with world champions in boxing. You told me last time we chatted, Jake works as hard as every world champion you ever had, if not harder.
Right.
But there's still folks out there, a guy like Virgil Ortiz Jr., one of the top young stars in boxing, very humble, very
Hmm.
respected, who basically came out and said it was a clown show, that he's scamming the world, destroying the sport. What do you say to someone like Virgil and other folks that kind of feel that way?
To be honest with you, I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't really care what they say, because at the end of the day, we're, when you say things like that, I feel insulted. And the reason I feel insulted, not to say that anyone doesn't have a right to have their own opinion, but I feel insulted. So if you're telling me this is a clown show, when you're saying it's a facade, when you're saying these type of things, the first thing I think about is all the hard work and, more importantly, sacrifice. In the last 6 months, I spent 5 of those 6 months training and working with Jake Paul, which means I spent 1 month at home with my family and my kids. So for me to be part of something that's a facade, to be part of something where I have to be away from my family 5 out of 6 months of the year, no, that's a bit disrespectful, just because I'm sacrificing and giving up too much to be there. Nah, we put too much time in. We work too damn hard. So, Burgess is entitled to what he wants to say, but I think the number one focus should be us focusing on what we have to do to get Jake to that world title. And Virgil needs to be focused on him.
yeah. I told Jake at the Mike Tyson press conference that in my view, he has gotten better every fight.
Yes.
And, and he talked about that goal of becoming world champion. And he said, within 2 years, uh, going back to last November, that he still had that in mind. Do you see that transition? Do you see he's on his way for someone who's only been doing this 5 or 6 years?
Absolutely. He's ranked in the top 15 in the world now. I said 2 years ago, give him 2 years. Give him 2 years. And now he's ranked top 15. So that means we're now in a place where we can actually be considered as for a world title fight. So at the end of the day, Jake hasn't done it the way everybody else wanted him to do it. He didn't have the opportunity to go into the amateurs and box at age 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, right? He didn't have that opportunity. He started in his mid-20s, basically, lower 20s. So that being said, it's going to be done at a certain way. And it's not going to be the way that people traditionally want it to be. My phone is kind of, I don't know what happened.
No, you're good. You're good, coach. Let's switch gears a little bit. One of your former pupils, Caleb Plant, uh, came back and had a big fight lined up with Jamal
Yeah.
Charlo. They both just had to win maybe a month ago or so, and had a tough fight. Lost
Yeah. Yeah.
a close split decision. I know I don't believe you're still with him, but
No.
what did you think of the fight, and knowing what you've done, worked with him, in some ways, are you kind of that missing ingredient for fighters? Strength and conditioning, I would imagine, goes a long way for these guys.
Well, here's the reality. I I'm gonna answer this question, but then I'm gonna have to go because I just got an emergency text. So, but I will get back to you today if you're willing to continue this conversation. But I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I feel like Caleb, didn't have his night. Sometimes you don't have that night. Sometimes it's just not your day, and he didn't have it. And so Caleb is a fighter. He's always been a fighter. This is could be looked at as a setback, or it could be looked at as a setup, because he has an opportunity, in my opinion, to go back and fight this guy again. At least I'm assuming there's a rematch clause somewhere around there. So even though he didn't get the win, nowhere along the line did you ever see him back down. Did you ever see him not try to put in 150% effort? I'm expecting Caleb to get up off that situation and fight back and get another opportunity. We're going to see him again in some major situations. I spent a long time with Caleb. I was with him for 6 years, and we had a lot of success in those 6 years. And so I wouldn't say I'm the missing ingredient. What I will say is, me knowing Caleb and knowing how Caleb's built, this is not going to stop him. He'll be back, and he'll be back strong.